Delray, Alexandria is one of the best places to live in Northern Virginia. And in this video, I'm gonna go over 5 things people love and 5 things people hate about living in Delray. So the first thing people always talk about with Delray is that small town feel. So it's very difficult to find a neighborhood close to DC with a small town feel. In fact, Delray, I would say, is probably the only one. Unless you wanna go 45 minutes, an hour outside of the city, you know, Delray is gonna have that small town feel, but still be close to different amenities. And of course, Delray has the main avenue. You have over 20 different restaurants. You have coffee shops, independent stores. You got your hardware store. You got all these little shops to check out. So there's not too many like chain restaurants in Delray, if any. And the community also has different community events. There's meetups, there's wine tastings, farmers markets. So it's a very active community. Like if you want a neighborhood where you're gonna get to know your neighbors or meet new people, Delray would be a good place. So if you go to visitdelray.com, you'll see the calendar of different events in the neighborhood. So there's some places in Northern Virginia where like you're not gonna get to meet your neighbors. You're not gonna be walking down a main avenue, grabbing your coffee, walking to like a top-rated restaurant. So Delray is great for that. And even if you get bored of Delray, you're so close to so many different cool neighborhoods. Like for example, Old Town Alexandria is right there. So you have dozens of restaurants there, nightlife, waterfront. There's always different events going on there. Then you can go right across the river to National Harbor, which has an MGM Grand Casino. Not saying you'd go there all the time, but the MGM Grand Casino, you know, besides the actual casino, it has like comedy shows, concerts, well-rated restaurants, another waterfront to check out. And then in addition to Old Town Alexandria, one of the best rated cities in the United States, you have the nation's capital right there. So that's even more restaurants, more events, more nightlife, whatever you want, you know, you can check out in DC. And then after that, if you want to change your pace, you can always go to Arlington, which has some good restaurants, some nightlife, that kind of thing. So you have all these different types of like cool neighborhoods with different things to do, different restaurants to check out, you know, right next to you, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes away from you. And then if you get bored of all those, DCA Airport is like 5 minutes away, 5, 10 minutes away. So you can hop on a plane, go somewhere for a little trip, and then come back nice and refreshed. So the next thing people love about Delray is the commuting. So if you need to commute somewhere, it is super easy. You're just a few miles outside of DC, so a lot of people drive. You know, you got the GW Parkway right there, you know, 395, you're close to the Beltway, super easy commute. And you'll actually hear people say that it can be faster to commute from Delray to different parts of DC than people who live in DC commuting to different parts of DC, because you can just like get right on the GW Parkway or wherever you need to go, and you don't have to drive through the entire city. And there's also metro options, and I'll talk about this as a con as well, because there's no like Delray Metro, but you have 3 different metros basically within about a mile and a half of Delray. So you have a bunch of different options when it comes to that. And then there's also a bus that goes through Delray, so you can hop on that, get to the Pentagon, and it has a bunch of different destinations, you know, throughout Northern Virginia. And then some people actually bike to work. So you got the Mount Vernon Trail right there, which has got to be like the most scenic trail in all of Northern Virginia on the waterfront. You know, you can see some of the monuments, you see the boats out there, and plenty of people use it just, you know, for recreation purposes, you know, jogging, biking, you always see people on it. But some people, you can use it to get to work. So there's a pretty good trail network around here. And then of course, if you need to get out of the city for whatever reason, DCA Airport, like I mentioned, is right there. And then you have Dulles Airport, you know, maybe 15, 20 minutes away as well if you need to go international. So it has got to be one of the most convenient places to live. You have so many different options when it comes to transportation. You can even take a boat. They have the water taxi that's over in Old Town Alexandria, but you can take the water taxi to MGM, to DC. So you have like every mode of transportation possible. The next thing that's great about Delray is the variety of housing options that you have. So you have condos, you have single family houses, you have townhomes, you even have small multifamily properties. And then they're all from like different ages. So you have some of the historic older properties, you have new construction ones, you have ones that maybe were built 20 or 30 years ago. So I don't know if there's a neighborhood that has as much variety of housing options as Delray. It's definitely a type of neighborhood where you could just spend an afternoon or a morning, you know, grab a coffee and just walk around the different blocks, and you'll see so many different types of homes. What I should really do is start like a home tour thing where we just walk around different neighborhoods, different blocks, and point out the different houses. Maybe people would let us in to see their houses. I know some neighborhoods do that. Maybe Delray actually does do that, but that would be a great idea. There's so much charm in this neighborhood. For example, obviously I'm a real estate agent in this area, and I'm in so many different neighborhoods, and sometimes I'm out further west, and some of these neighborhoods, it'll be like brand new townhomes, right? And you'll be 45 minutes outside of the city, and there'll be a giant highway right there, and then every single townhome is exactly the same, and there's no walkability, there's no main street. You have to drive 5 minutes, and then you're at a Starbucks and a Chili's. And the townhomes are nice, but like they're super expensive, and every single one looks exactly the same. So Delray is just like, if you want a variety of housing options, a variety of prices too, which we'll get into, and a walkable type of neighborhood, then it would be a good option. Another thing people love about Delray is that like everyone's always like outdoors. There's so many outdoor activities you can do. People are very active in the neighborhood. I read somewhere that they said Delray was a dog social club disguised as a neighborhood. So it's definitely maybe the most dog-friendly place you could live in Northern Virginia. And then of course, even if you don't have a dog, there's plenty of trails nearby, there's parks nearby. So it's like a very active place. There's plenty of different options when it comes to that. Hey, what's up? It's Jeff here. So before we get to what people hate about Delray, feel free to reach out to my team and I below if you're thinking of making a move to Delray or the Northern Virginia area. We get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you that are making a move to the Northern Virginia area. My team and I, we would love to assist you. And also be sure you're signed up for my weekly email newsletter. We go over the Northern Virginia market, different houses, helpful info. So even if you're a month away from buying, or maybe you're 12 months away from buying or selling, it's always a good idea to stay updated on this market. All right, so the first downside about living in Delray is that yes, it will be one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Northern Virginia. But at the same time, because there's such a variety of houses here, you can buy a one-bedroom condo. I think there was a couple one-bedroom condos that sold for under $300K. So condo prices are going to be like anywhere from like $275 up to like $450,000 for a one-bedroom condo, and then obviously two bedrooms will be a bit more than that. And then with the townhouse prices, you're looking anywhere from like $700K on the low end for like an older fixer-upper house, up to $2 million for like a brand new, super nice, townhouse with parking, that kind of thing. Now, as far as single-family houses go, like on the low end, you're looking at like $750,000 for like a two-bedroom, one-bath single-family house. Actually, I just saw one that was listed. I was like, oh, that's kind of a nice, cool little house. Upwards of $3 million. So like the new construction homes here that are going up are like $2.5 to $3 million. And the median price is gonna be about 1.3. And then you also have some small multifamily properties that come up here and there. And Alexandria is an Airbnb friendly place. So like obviously you could do Airbnb, but it's also something to keep in mind where maybe you don't want to live directly next to an Airbnb. So you should always kind of like look that up and see what the neighbors got going on. And another thing to know with these houses is that these older houses, they might need some work. They might not have a brand new roof. The bathrooms and kitchens might be smaller, might be outdated. The basements, you might need to put in some money. And obviously they're not gonna be as big as if you were to go further out into Alexandria or further out into Northern Virginia. So, this is like when people say location, 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 they're pretty much talking about Delray, Alexandria. It might be a smaller place that needs some work, but you're gonna be in an A+ location and close to all these incredible like other neighborhoods that I mentioned. Next up, we have the rain and flooding issues. And this is more common with some of the older houses in Delray. Like the new houses that they build, they usually have like different drainage systems and that kind of thing that are basically required by the county or by the city. But you do have to be careful with some of the older houses. They might get water in the basement. Some houses have done waterproofing systems or French drains. There's different things you can do. But anytime you're buying a single family or a townhouse in Delray, myself personally, I always ask the listing agent, has there ever been any water issues? Do they have a waterproofing system? Do they have a sump pump? That kind of thing. And then of course, we always recommend getting a home inspection, because even if you do these different things, these proactive things, sometimes you can still have potential water issues. If you're in Delray a lot, you'll always see, I forget the name of the company now, but it's like this orange or like yellow truck. It's like a water restoration damaged type of truck, and you always see it at different houses. So I'm always like, oh man. And as soon as I mention that now, if you're in Delray, you'll probably see that truck. I forget the name of the company. But basically my point is you'll see those trucks around because when there's a heavy rain, sometimes you do get water issues. And that being said, even if you were to get water issues, there's a lot of different solutions you can do. Like you can do a full basement waterproofing system. Obviously that's fairly costly. You can do a French drain. Sometimes it might just be grading on the exterior that can solve the issue. But anytime you're doing like a bigger ticket project like that, it's always a good idea to get like 2 or 3 different proposals, 2 or 3 different ideas. And then maybe you start with a lesser expensive one, see if that actually solves the issue. And if not, then you might have to do a more expensive one. And if you want a $1 million business idea, start a water remediation damage company in Alexandria, because there's always issues, more so actually in Old Town, I would say, but Delray definitely has its issues. And one of my buddies actually owns a water damage mold remediation company. So if you need a good recommendation, let me know. The next thing people don't like about Delray, and maybe some people actually chose Delray for this reason, is that there's basically no like nightlife. Like you're not moving to Delray to go clubbing and to go bar hopping at all these crazy places. Now there are several like beer garden types of places where it's a great like casual hangout type of spot, or you can go on a date, meet up with the neighbors, whatever it might be. But after about like 8 p.m., like I swear I've driven through Delray at like 7:30, 8 p.m. getting like a later dinner, and sometimes it's just like empty. So it definitely gets quiet like at night, even on like a Friday, Saturday night. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like if you want the nightlife, if you want to go bar hopping, you go to Old Town Alexandria. You're gonna have ton of bars and more of that over there, as well as DC obviously has probably the best nightlife in the whole DC area. And then even the Clarendon area, if you want that like crazy nightlife, it's more of like the 20-somethings, going out, getting drunk. But there's plenty of bars in Clarendon if you get bored and you want to check that out as well. The next thing people don't like about Delray is that there's no metro like right in Delray. There's no Delray like metro, right? But you're within about a mile and a half of 3 different metros. So you got Potomac Yard, you got King Street, you got Braddock Road, all kind of, like I said, about a mile and a half away. And if you live kind of on the edge of Delray, you're much closer. So if you live on the edge of Delray, you might only be like a half mile away. You might even be less than that to different metros. So there's no metro that you're gonna walk a block or 2 to the metro, but you are within striking distance, I would say, of 3 different metros. And most people would be thrilled to have 1 metro within a mile, but Delray has 3 metros within a mile, but it's gonna be a little bit of a walk or maybe a short Uber ride. And then another negative about Delray is that according to greatschools.org, it's not a highly rated school system. And I can't really talk too much about the schools, but according to that website, Delray does not have the highest rated public schools. So there you have it, what people love and hate about Delray. And if you're thinking about making a move to Delray or Northern Virginia, reach out to my team and I below, and we would love to assist you.